Testing.
Okay. Hi, everyone. We're about ready to get started, so if you could have a seat.
Please make your way into the Great Hall. We're about to get going here this morning. Give the group a few minutes. We good? Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I'm Associate Professor Dave Richter O'Connell, and on behalf of the University of Wisconsin-Stout School of Art and Design, Departments of Industrial and Product Design, and Fashion Design and Development, I want to wholeheartedly welcome you to Design Wisconsin 2025. Let's give ourselves a big hand. As most of you know, Design Wisconsin is an event created to celebrate design and industrial designers and fashion designers and their impact on Wisconsin's commerce, culture, community, and brand, past, present, and future. This is our fourth go-around. We're very happy to be here today, very happy that all of you are here. I always have a long list of thank yous, so I'm going to go through that, and I'm going to try to do it fairly quickly. First and foremost, thanks to all the display vendors that are here. We understand that this represents a huge sacrifice in terms of time, planning, effort, people power, travel, expenses. This is a huge deal for you guys to be here, and we just thank you so much for making this event happen. Without you, there is really no event. So thank you for being here. Let's give you guys a round of applause. I want to give a special thank you to Oshkosh Corporation, Kohler, Milwaukee Tool, and Emerson Tool, who is not here today, for financially sponsoring today's event at a bronze level. So we thank you, that generosity, for keeping us going. And then I'm just going to kind of go around the room and acknowledge everybody that's here. First, Polaris, Milwaukee Tool, Ashley Furniture, Oshkosh Corporation, Mercury Marine, Integrated Design Solutions, Trek, Loft, Kohler, Vitatech. Down here in front, my very best new friends at Dave's Guitar Shop, who loaned us these incredibly expensive guitars for the weekend. The McPherson guitar that's designed and manufactured in Sparta, Wisconsin, great story. And then our own wizard from Waukesha, Les Paul, who designed the first solid electric guitar, the Les Paul down there that rock and rolled forever, created rock and roll. So I'm so happy that they loaned us the equipment or the guitars for today. As we go out the hall, Forma, formerly MLM, and at this point I'd just like to big shout out to Micah and his crew for the kickoff party last night. It was a wonderful event. Thanks for everybody that came. Is Micah out there? I know Micah's out there somewhere, but somewhere. There you go. Thank you so much. So Pea Soup, Plantscape, Wigwam, first time for Wigwam, Gulfstream, KI and Presto are kind of down the hall, so make sure that you go and see them. And then across the hall, we've got all the student work, and Jen will talk about that in a second. I also want to thank IDSA, Milwaukee and Minneapolis chapters for helping us get the word out, and our very own student chapter of IDSA who are here today as our volunteers helping work the show, and kind of they'll be your ambassadors throughout the day. Our School of Art and Design Leadership Director Aaron Durst and Chair Shelley Pekka and Past Chair Dave Beck, without their support we could not, again, make this happen. We have an amazing on-campus team: Scott Rivor, Allison Flanham, Ann Huppert, Beth Hine, Michael Capel, Michael Huggins, Seth Hudson, Brian Bartz, and Trevor Ludwig, who's doing the light and sound. Thank you so much to all you folks for making this happen. My superhero colleague at the end of the table, Associate Dean, Program Director of INPD and FD&D, Professor Jennifer Aswood. We'll hear from her soon, but she's just done an amazing job. I'm about to retire. Jennifer has taken the torch this year and really made this event happen. All the activities, all the keynotes, everything that you're going to be experiencing today is really all due to Jen. So we owe Jen a big round of thank you. And last but not least, our Chancellor, our Stout leadership has been really strong. Provost Glenda Lee Rodriguez and Chancellor Catherine Frank, and their staffs, they've been wonderful and very supportive and very encouraging for this event. And I remember a moment that I had with Chancellor Frank, the very first one down at Delve. She kind of pulled me to the side and she said, "Dave, I don't know if you know what you got going here, but this is a really good thing." And so when I was focusing on the event and I was only seeing trees, she could see the forest. And she could see the potential for the event and its growth and its importance in our community and to the school. So I'm forever in your debt for pulling me aside and making that comment. It was very pivotal. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Chancellor Catherine Frank.
Well, hello, everybody, and thank you, Dave. And how about a big round of applause for Dave? We so appreciate you. I know there'll be lots of discussion about how we'll miss you at Stout, but I've already said, you're always welcome to reappear. So I remember that conversation. I remember actually a conversation before that where Dave was pitching Design Wisconsin to me, and I'm like, I don't get it. I don't fully understand what you're aiming for, but okay, I'm interested in seeing what happens. And so, again, when I saw it, when I felt it, when I experienced it, there was something really special about what was happening at Delve. And as Dave was trying to think about it in relation to everything that he does across the the institution, I'm like, Dave, this touches everything, right? When you think about, when we talk about faculty growth and development at a university, we talk about the teaching component of what faculty do, we talk about the research component of what faculty do, and we talk about the service component. And I said, this is all of that, right? This is all of that in one space, right? We have the student experience, and we have the student experience that's tied to the Polytechnic experience, which is Stout, right? So when you watch students in this space, and if you don't understand what it means to go to a Polytechnic, you get it when you watch students in this space, right? That connection with faculty, that connection with business and industry, that applied hands-on learning, that research component, and that career-focused element. It's all present in what we experience today. And then for a faculty member engaging in their own professional development, right, this displayed that as well. As I listened to Dave talk about his work, when I listened to Dave talk about his connections with business and industry, and again, how he applies that in the classroom, and how that is, it's a very interdisciplinary experience. And then when I go to capstone experiences with Dave or Jennifer's or others' classes, you see that at play as well when you look at the students interacting with business and industry and their learning. And then service, because this takes a whole heck of a lot of time and coordination, right? And that's the service component of what we do. That's the outreach component. So when I think of Design Wisconsin, I will always think of Dave. But I think of all of those elements that come together to create that very rich, comprehensive learning experience that is very indicative of what we do at a Polytechnic. So congratulations for that, Dave, as the music plays. And then I just want to call out thank you to all of the alums at this event. There are lots of you here, and it's wonderful to have you back on campus and experiencing and contributing to what makes Stout so special. So thank you for being here, and thank you for connecting with our students, and thank you for supporting our graduates. And thank you to all of the speakers. I have the foundation board on campus today, so I have to run back downstairs for part of that meeting, but I will be back up here because the speakers sound absolutely incredible, and I love the focus of this event. So future focused in talking about design, and then bringing fashion in this year was just a wonderful component. So thank you all for your contributions. Thank you, Jennifer and Dave, for everything that you've done and everybody else who has been involved. And I look forward to celebrating the 4th annual with you throughout the day today. And I hope it's just an incredibly productive, rewarding, and enjoyable experience for everybody. Thank you so much for being here. And I'll turn things back over to Dave.
As I said before, my superhero partner in crime, what can I say? I've had 9 great years working side by side with Jennifer, and she's just been a wonderful colleague to work with, and she really stepped up this year in terms of, she wears a million hats to begin with. And for her to take major ownership of this event and put together all the speakers and activities for the day, she's just done a tremendous job. So I'm going to hand it back to Jennifer. So again, thanks, Jen.
All right. So this is Dave's last. Well, he's still planning to help out with other Design Wisconsin, but he's retiring this year, and it's pretty amazing. And we couldn't have done this without him. So important. And the reason why he stepped in at Stout, I just want to acknowledge, is that we also had another fantastic colleague that a lot of our alumni that are here had him or interacted with or even went to school with, was Noah Norton. He was the first program director of industrial design. And it was such a huge loss when he died from leukemia. And he was my best friend. And we worked really well together. So it was a huge hole And that hole really can't really be filled because how many of you knew Noah? Like a great part of the room, right? Like he was a force to be reckoned with. He had one of those smiles that if you were a student in the classroom and he had to tell you something that was really bad, he would do it with this devilish smile that would make you kind of hate him, but then in the end you loved him because you knew that what he was trying to make your work better, and he could get away with murder at this university, not literally murder, but he could get away with a lot. So we miss him. So when Dave stepped in 9 years ago, he really fulfilled a huge loss in a very different way, but a wonderful way. So we're gonna miss him. We're gonna miss him a lot. So thank you for our esteemed speakers. You're gonna see me a lot today because I'll be introducing a lot of people. For those of you who don't know me, I've been teaching here at Stout since 2007 and working since the 1900s before that for some of you. And I do love it. I love Stout. It's been a really wonderful place because it allowed me to wear many different hats. So as mentioned, I am the Associate Dean of the College of Arts and Human Sciences. One of them, I am the Program Director of Industrial and Product Design, and I'm Interim Program Director for Fashion Design and Development. And this conference, along with everything, I mean, we really can't do it with, and I can't do all these things without a really huge support staff. So I just want to re-acknowledge the people that Dave pointed out, also marketing and communications. And I also really want to call out to like Michael Capel, because he's really my right-hand person during this. So I just want to acknowledge him. So the one thing I really want to point out about Design Wisconsin is prior to my time here at Stout, I worked at Logic Product Development in Minnesota, and I was the IDSA chapter chair there and treasurer for a couple of years. And I helped coordinate the IDSA Midwest District conferences for about 4 or 5 years. To me, Design Wisconsin reminds me of those conferences because the emergence of students and professionals networking and learning from each other. Today we're going to have a lot of fun, great speakers, great conversation, and we really want to integrate more workshops in this so that you could experience a little bit even further learning and have further great conversation. If you notice across the hall, there is a student show, an alumni show. Thank you for all of those who participated. We would love to carry out this tradition of just not, right now it's at Stout, so it's like Stout alumni, but it'd be great to have a show that really showcases work from all of our industries, kind of just showcasing and highlighting. So that's something I'd like to carry forward in the future. In the afternoon, we're also going to continue to have a lot of great speakers. The Merit Award nominees are going to be here, well, from UW-Stout in person, MyAd virtually, through a recorded presentation. From 1 to 4, we're going to have a Pierce fire truck because Oshkosh Motors is here. So if you ever want to take a break from the conference, even though there's going to be great speakers, or there's going to be also coffee breaks, so you can go check it out. You just go out through this entrance here. From 12 to 1, we'll have miniature golf at the Applied Arts Building in front of the Furlong Gallery. There's little maps out in front so you can see that. Part of our Design 200 class, they came up with little miniature golf exhibits. So it's just kind of fun if you want to just take a personal break. And then at 5 to 7, we're going to have food trucks outside, but then we're also going to have weapons of brass destruction in the amphitheater outside. So please take a look at that. So without further ado, I'm going to announce Michael Leighton. You're going to see videos throughout the day kind of rotating from different members of our professional advisory committee. And Michael Leighton is one of the members of our professional advisory committee. So what we did a project this year with photo and video where their students created these interviews of their experience and their time here at Stout. So we'll get to hear a little bit about Michael. Michael is the current Director of Industrial Design of CMF and Sculpting at Polaris, a 2002 grad. After graduating from the University of Wisconsin-Stout in '02, with his degree in ID and a minor in business, Michael had focused his career on developing brand-centric product experiences, holding both business and design leadership roles at organizations ranging from the music and bicycle industries to material science and Innovation 500 companies. So we're very lucky to have Michael Leighton. And without further ado, Michael Leighton.
My favorite design project that I created at Stout was probably my senior project. The project that I had was really looking at student seating and the ergonomic effects of sitting in a chair all day. And is there a better way to not only have a better physical experience around seating for students, but also how the seats play a role in the classroom from a collaboration standpoint, from a maintenance standpoint, and just other attributes of, the general learning experience for students. I think Stout did a great job preparing me with the foundational elements of what it means to be creative, to understand sort of the end consumer, the end user, and how you design for those customers and those use cases, doing the research around those things, but then applying that knowledge into actual solutions. If you asked me when I graduated what I would be doing, there's no way I would have ever imagined I'd be doing what I'm doing now at Polaris. And it's, I'd say, the most exciting job I've had so far because it's so complex. The user groups are very different, and I think the opportunity is also unbelievable. And that's what I love about being at Polaris. We're very focused on outdoor activities. It's really a catalyst for a great appreciation for our world around us and the great outdoors. So personally, that's what really drives me to get out of bed every day, so to speak, as well as to do great design work with the team there. Well, I appreciate that. That's the first time I saw that, and I had no idea it was happening. So appreciate the spotlight. Just a quick logistics thing. Will you guys just advance the slide when I say next slide? Because I don't have a clicker. But hello, my name is Michael Leighton. I'm the Director of Industrial Design at Polaris. And thank you for bringing all of us together today. A lot of faces that I've known for a number of years, but also a lot of new faces, which is super exciting. And when we talk about we're here for design, we spent a considerable amount of our life talking about design, living design, breathing design. And so, I had a really nice presentation of corporate numbers and what Polaris is all about and everything else, but I thought this is probably a better use of our time to talk about what we actually all care about, which is design. And I think at a certain point you have to say, well, where did this all begin? The idea of design. Is it something that happened in the early 19th century? It's probably earlier than that. And so I like to go back even further to say, who had the first creative thought, and what was that? I'm just speculating a little bit here, but if you go to the next slide here, unless you have the clicker that I can use. Perfect, thank you. I think our ability to think creatively with productivity is a distinct human attribute, okay? Somebody somewhere said, you know what? It's cold out. That bear doesn't look cold. I'd like to think they thought this. What if I had fur like a bear? And so that was maybe one of the first thoughts us as humans had around creativity and exploration of ideas. So this is an example of the first needle and thread. People always say, what's your favorite product that's ever been designed, or that sort of thing. This is still not that different than what we use today that we're all wearing right now. So it's probably one of the greatest design solutions out there. But again, it was fueled by that human objective to be creative, to think wildly about, well, what if? And I think that's a unique attribute to us as humans. This has also been a catalyst for us as we progress through, various worlds and society, looking for new worlds, looking for things, new ideas. dreaming of better worlds. Also thinking of worlds that are unimaginable. For those of you that don't know what's on the upper right here, this is the bench that Walt Disney sat on at a park with his 2 daughters as they played on the playground and thought, why can't the whole family have as much joy as my girls are having collectively, right? And then lastly, our ability to think about absolutely new ideas that can progress us to make things easier, to help us do things that we want to achieve in life in new ways, right? So the Model T on the lower right. So again, our ability to explore is uniquely human, but a lot of the questions I've been getting lately are around, we're doing things that are kind of unhuman in some ways, like counteracting that human creativity that is unique to us as a species. Some examples are, AI-driven things. I know we'll have to talk about AI later. I'm a proponent of AI. You have to use it the right way, and we'll talk about it. But instead of going out and seeing places, a lot of people opt to maybe just make the image and I'll experience it that way. We're also looking at ways to remove the work that we do, building robots that replicate the tasks that we do, while we're still trying to bring purpose and jobs to the things that we do. We have the world of information since the dawn of time, basically, since we've been recording it, at our fingertips. We can connect with anyone, anywhere, at any place, if we want to, around the globe at any moment. But yet we also have a hard time having a conversation with a stranger next to us. So are we losing some of these unique foundational human attributes for us? And then the last one is this creative piece. For us to explore ideas, there's a perception that you can hit the easy button and create these unique, compelling designs. And I think there's opportunities for that, but in this, I would say, mainstreaming trends, there's some people who think, yeah, that's going to save us a bunch of money. It'll streamline things. Just because you can doesn't mean you should, as an example on the lower right from Nike. So as we talk about this, what I would kind of categorize as a crisis, are we dehumanizing design? The creative exploration that is so unique and so foundational to who we are as people. I get these questions a lot from my designers at Polaris. And with AI, you can drop in a sketch and hit the easy button and get back a nice looking image and maybe leapfrog the whole design process. But what makes that design the right design for the customer, the brand, the values, the desires and emotions that customers want and how they want to use this product? It's not an easy button. Right? And with this scenario, a lot of, I would say, people outside of our group think that there's a lot of efficiency to be had here. I would say moving forward, the time for design has never been as important as it is now with some of these new tools that we have in front of us. We are the ones who have the creative superpower, for lack of a better term, to translate these ideas into something that is tangible, that is valuable and meaningful for customers and for ourselves. So again, creative exploration, I believe, is a superpower of the designer. We see things, we can imagine things, and we can bring those ideas to life in unique ways that really communicate and engage people on different levels. I'm fortunate that at Polaris, not only do we get to do that type of work, but the work that we do actually gets people out into the outdoors and explore the world around them. That's what I love about my role at Polaris. We make a lot of unimaginable and kind of irrational products. Some of them are in front of you here. This Indian FTR was actually designed by a Stout grad, Richard Christoph. He graduated in 2002 or 3. He was at Harley for a while, but he's at Polaris with us now. And then the Sportsman here is a collaboration of Stout grads, Richard, Tom Hanegraaff on the engineering side, and we also have Michael Wolf, who's on our color and graphics, doing some work in this space, right? So there's a lot of Stout, I would say, talent at Polaris, which is great. But we do a lot of things to get people outside, and we're all very passionate about that, okay? A little background on Polaris. We are a, depending on the tariff level, $8 to $9 billion company with a global footprint, with a strong manufacturing presence across the US. We actually build a lot of our engines in Osceola, Wisconsin, right? So that's kind of why we got pulled into this Design Wisconsin event. We were started a long time ago, and that sort of idea of exploration is what founded a small group of guys up in Roseau, Minnesota, to say, what if? What if I could get to my hunting shack much easier in deep snow, or get there at all? They started developing products, thinking about what a snow traveler, this 1958, I believe it is, snow traveler snowmobile, to explore the world around them in an easier way. That same sort of mentality and culture is very present at Polaris today. So as designers at Polaris, we have, again, the ability to dream with pictures. Imagine the world that isn't there yet, and help communicate that to our colleagues. Here's an image that one of our designers did as just a overlanding explorative concept to say, what if you could take our vehicles and load them with a bunch of gear and go see the Grand Canyon or whatever it might be. This one image drove a whole new business segment for us at Polaris, okay? And a new business and product segment within the industry. Then turned into this, the Polaris Expedition, which we launched 2 years ago. And that image that designer created was actually the framework for the go-to-market marketing materials that the team launched to help launch the vehicle, right? So never underestimate the superpower of creativity as a designer. You have a unique opportunity in every moment to push forward for the business and excite people around you and your customers, okay? And you never know how far your ideas will go throughout the business. With this superpower comes tremendous responsibility, right? I think someone much smarter than me talked about that around superheroes or something like that. But great power requires great responsibility. And with these new tools like AI, we use a lot of VR design. This is Gravity Sketch. This is one of my designers, Michael Ritz, who's giving a demo for a Gravity Sketch conference. And he's building a vehicle in real time to show what this thing could look like, right? This is an awesome tool because it helps us, again, leverage our superpower of visual creativity and imagination in the real time, and gives them a new way to imagine that. He is designing this vehicle around him in the virtual space, something he couldn't do before. There's a lot of efficiency that comes with that. We can take this and create rapid prototypes, mill clay models from it, so on and so forth. And it saves us a bunch of time to make good decisions earlier, right? But it's not an easy button. It takes strong awareness of what is your brand, who is your customer, what's to say that those surfaces are the right surfaces, or the space is the right thing for that customer. Ergonomically, what are the considerations you're making? So just because you know the tool doesn't mean you know how to solve the problem, okay? So how will you manage your superpower? What is your purpose as a designer? Have you defined that for yourself? What is your brand, and how are you positioning your superpower for your brand and your business? Where are you going to focus your efforts and your strengths and superpower as a designer? At Polaris, one way that we do this, because we have such a wide variety of products and different customers, we basically create an internal ethos to help our designers really create I would say, continuity and a glue between us to hold ourselves accountable to a single purpose. I don't know if your organization has these, but it's something really worth thinking about, okay? For us, we fuel outdoor adventures, and these words are specific. It's short, succinct. Our designers can repeat this with good acuity, but it's memorable and impactful. But it applies to all of our business also, right? So if we talk about fuel, there's some key things here that I'll just walk through at a high level. Fuel is who we are in power sports. We are here to do progressive work, not the same thing as what's in the marketplace today or Me Too product. Always something that's advanced or an improvement that delivers new or better value. We accelerate, and this is kind of a power sports term, we accelerate to pick the best line, meaning we operate with efficiency and strategy to really deliver results. And then we ignite the passions and pursuits of our riders, right? So the idea of the word fuel captures all those things. And this is also customer facing, but also internal. Our internal culture, these all resonate with our internal teams and really fuel them to stay consistent with how they operate. Outdoor, that's our focus. We do power sport vehicles to help people get outdoors, see the world around them with loved ones, with friends, to see new adventures and new things. And then the last piece here is adventures. We feel that adventures come in all shapes and sizes. Taking a four-wheeler down to check your mail, all the way to doing a multi-day road trip on a motorcycle. There's big and small adventures, and we need to understand every single one in strong fidelity to really design the right sort of solution. We also believe that adventures are best shared as a community and with a group of people. So how do you bring people together through these vehicles and the activities and things that you're doing, but also how we give back to some of those communities. We do a lot of investment in trail maintenance and governance to make sure that we aren't doing things that are unreversible to the environment where we use these vehicles. So that's really important to us. And then lastly, we fuel the human desire to explore and grow. And this is kind of the essence of my presentation here. And back to this image. Mr. Johnson, the one of many Johnsons in Roseau, Minnesota, is on this image here. His passion to go and explore and do the things that he wanted to do is something that we continue to strive for from a Polaris standpoint. People have all kinds of motivations and needs and desires of why they want to get out and see things. We need to understand all those so we can create the right vehicle to support them in their dreams and adventures. Okay? So this vehicle took Mr. Johnson places that he didn't imagine going but wanted to go to. And as designers, we need to take that sort of, I would say, mindset and how do we progress it? And we take what was an original snowmobile and we can reimagine that. From an architectural standpoint, there's a lot of changes, but basically it does the same thing. But how it comes to life emotionally through the colors and graphics, we can really engage different, new, and unique people that we haven't in the past. We can also have those people go to places that they can't imagine going, the tops of mountains that other people can't go to see things that other people can't see, those adventures that are really aspiring to them. We also, as designers, need to make sure we are always developing meaningful value. Again, understanding the nuances of the customer, the problems you're trying to solve. These original images of these sketches of this 1500 Ranger, again, drove a lot of conversation within the organization, right? What does this thing do? How capable is it? How much can it tow? What will someone actually do with this vehicle? No one ever imagined that you'd be pulling an F-250 out of the mud with one of our Rangers if you asked us that 10 years ago, right? But through some of the work that we do, both from a functional standpoint, but then in the upper right there, the visual presence and I would say design language of our vehicle and our brand is so important to communicate those emotive desires that our customers have. Some of what's in the upper right here is, again, another representation of tools that we use inside Polaris to maintain consistency of mindset of what it is we're trying to achieve and how we bring that to life. How do we communicate power of our vehicles? What are the proportions of the vehicle that communicate capability and agility, those types of things? Those are the decisions that the designers need to make with all these tools in front of them to say what's right, what's wrong, what's valuable, what's desirable for the brand and the customer, okay? Indian is one of our brands also. It's the oldest motorcycle brand in America. And, you know, through this same sort of thinking, we are able to boldly imagine what once was, you know, a beautiful, simple machine into something that's truly advanced and highly desirable and exciting, right? We're also constantly focused on unlocking, I would say, unimaginable adventures in unimaginable ways. We invented the recreation side-by-side category. This is a Polaris RZR, to go and do things that really most people should not be doing. And it's kind of exciting to do that, right? But now there's a whole industry around this, right? And this, again, was around understanding your customer, designers saying, well, what if we took two people on this, put them side by side and put a big motor on it, and would that be a better experience for people versus everyone having their own little machine? Maybe, let's try it, right? It spawned this whole high energy, high octane sort of movement of the side by side, I would say, performance recreation vehicle. And so we've been doing this since the early 2000s, and we have lots of plans to go further with that. But my point here is being able to imagine the unimaginable as a designer is a superpower within an organization. That's where these ideas started. Not from consumer research saying they need that, right? It was just a sketch on a wall that said, what if? So how will you fuel your superpower? Have you defined that for yourself? Is it a skill set? Is it a mindset? Is it communication? There's so many things that the business requires us to do really well all the time. But where's that area where you are really focused on developing and delivering that with strong acuity and consistency? For young designers, I would say, think about what you love about design or why you got into design. What's that compelling thing? Is it bringing ideas to life? Is it working through problems? Is it just the creative outlet of visualizing ideas? It's a lot of fun to be a designer and bring those things to life. A lot of people want to be designers. That's why there's I would say, some of these sort of easy button AI things out there. People love to be the designer, but to actually achieve and deliver as a designer is different. So a couple things I'll leave you guys with. Both for students, but also professionals that I've seen in my 20 plus years of doing design work. Complacency kills. You need to think about what it is you're trying to do, what has gotten you where you are now, but then how do you take it further, okay? Be cognizant of progressive work that moves your work and your business forward. Don't wait for something to make you do that. And kind of the values, the ethos thing I showed, is a great catalyst to make sure that this doesn't happen. Fuel outdoor adventures means we're not going to sit in our studio and say, well, what should we do? And no one's asking us for anything. No, we're making concepts without being asked. We're building things, we're trying things and failing before the business even knows about it, right? We're trying to get out ahead of the business. So complacency has no place in the design world, from my point of view. Stay curious. It's hard to do. There's a lot of noise in the world. You have a lot of obligations and responsibilities, but if you come at everything with a curious mindset and say, well, I wonder why that is that way, or I wonder how that took shape that way, you'll never know what you'll find. And also the background story behind designs, behind business decisions, really absorb all those things because they make you a better designer and more valuable, and your ideas more valuable within organizations and for your customers, right? So stay curious. For your design teams, for management, make sure you're providing time for people to go out and be curious. And that's my last point, time to refuel. Make sure you're finding time consistently for your teams to go out, see things that are unrelated to the work you're doing that can spark, new ideas, new creativity, and new interpretations of how design comes to life. Every month we spend a Friday. I send my team out and they go to retailers. We'll send them on trips to maybe a trade show, but they also spend time just being in different cultures and seeing retail experiences and seeing new ideas. Time to refuel as a designer is important, and that is a challenge for a lot of businesses. Time is money, the clock is ticking, but to stay creative, to stay, I would say, curious, you need downtime to refuel sort of your aspirational desires as a designer, okay? So I only have I was going to have about 30 more slides, but I thought I'd cut it short, keep it light. So I want to thank you guys, and especially UW-Stout, for having me and giving me the opportunity to share some of my ideas around what's really important, but also interesting about the world of design and why we're all here for this great event. I look around and I see a lot of these themes happening in the products that are just on display here. I'm sure I'll see a lot of these themes in the student work also, so I'm excited to spend some more time with everyone here today. And I know Jennifer, we wanted to spend a little bit of time for questions and answers. So with that, I appreciate your time, and I look forward to speaking with you more today. Thank you. Or just raise your hand and shout, either one.
Thank you so much for talking, Michael. I wanted to ask you a little bit about your journey. So you talked about not really seeing yourself potentially going into CMF and what you're doing right now. Can you talk about those turning points and kind of what led you to the discoveries you talked about today?
So in my design career, I started in the music industry with Gregor Mittersinker, who's at Loft. He was one of my first supervisors in design. And then I went to Trek Bicycles, who's also here in the corner. And it's at Trek where I had probably a milestone in my career where I was a designer for the what was called town category, basically all the bikes you don't race. And there's an opportunity to take on a business role within that organization, leading the product management of that category of the town bicycles. And I remember interviewing for the role and a little apprehensive about, can I even do this? Yeah, I have a little bit of business management background from school and everything, but this is a different level. Like I own the P&L and all that sort of stuff. I went from designing bikes on Friday to building bombs of spreadsheets for bicycles on Monday morning. And for about a week, I thought, what in the hell did I do, right? But through that challenge, I kind of found in myself that, you know what? If you take on the challenge, you'll learn a lot about yourself. You'll fail, no question, so just be prepared for that. But diversifying my understanding of the business made me a better designer when I came back to design at 3M, which is my next role after Trek. So I guess my advice would be curious, seek out different opportunities and think about how that will add to your mindset, your superpower as a designer. And make sure that you write that down before you take on some of these challenges and fulfill kind of your objectives. So as a product manager, I learned firsthand how to manage a P&L, how to go to Asia and negotiate costs for vendors on parts, understand the manufacturing process, work better with my designers to get the information they need to be successful. That was probably the best experience in my career so far, for sure.
Thank you, Michael.
Yeah. Anything else? Gregor.
I have a question about that. Not many designers actually do that, right? Like we as a, you know, as a trade, tend to stick within the creative roles. You know, like other companies have, you know, people in finance that become CEOs. Why is it that there's not that many designers in the C-suite?
That's a great question, and I would say a recommendation to young students would be, if you can, get some business management exposure in school to understand kind of the foundational blocks of how businesses are run. I don't know why there isn't more of an emphasis on sort of design to business, and maybe that's something we can talk about from a curriculum standpoint here. Okay, sounds good. But I think it's also on the designer to, again, stay curious. If you're in a business meeting, put yourself in your partner's shoes. As a product manager, what do they care about? They care about timeline, hitting their numbers, right? Delivering the product that meets the customer needs, that's going to position the brand the right way and deliver the opportunity, all that good stuff, right? Sometimes you need to think about who your customers are and what they care about so you can design better for, you know, the job you're doing. Long story short, I think designers should spend more time thinking about their role in the business as a designer, but also taking leaps of faith into the mindset of a business leader. Because at the end of the day, design is about business. Yeah, there's art and creativity in it, but there's no mistake. We are here to make, I would say, really strong solutions, compelling and profitable solutions for business groups, right? So it is highly advantageous and I would say beneficial to, if you can, understand how your business operates. And if you don't know, talk to the experts, right? Be curious. Okay? Any other questions?
So you're talking about to remind yourself why you chose to become a designer. How would you say that your sort of why, your curiosity has evolved through your career, and were there moments that you had to kind of refine that spark, or what's been your sort of your why journey with that?
Good question. So just to repeat the question back to you, what has driven my sustained curiosity and progressed me in my career, essentially? From the get-go, I've always said, I don't really know what I want to do as a designer. I actually wanted to do furniture design, but I haven't really done that aside from my first internship at Weber in Minneapolis. But I think because I didn't know, I wanted to experience a lot of things. So music, bicycles, 3Ms, material science, that's on a totally different level of design than I would ever imagined, right? You're dealing with PhDs who can move molecules around, right? That's not my jam. I was always the dumbest person in the room, and I own that, right? And then to power sports, right? And so I think I view each of those as a unique sort of chapter in my career, and with the understanding that every single one is going to be different and bring new challenges and experiences that will make me have a long and fulfilling career, right? So that's my personal objective, is breadth of curiosity and diversity of curiosity is important to me. So again, how do you define that for yourself? If you love furniture and you know it and you live and breathe it, maybe that's where you want to be, and that's great. But for me personally, that's always kind of been my, I would say, strategy or intention was, let's experience a lot of things through your career. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Great. Question?
What have you found to be the most important, maybe hard skill to show as you progress throughout all of these different sectors, to show to employers that you're able to move from bikes to...
Sorry, could you speak up? It's really hard to hear you.
What is the most important skill that you feel like has been transferable across all these sectors?
Sure. So just to repeat it, most important skill that's transferable across all these experiences, I think it's your ability to think creatively. People can draw, people can generate images in different ways and with different tools. You can learn those things, but to bring a curious thinking mindset consistently and showcase that in different ways, let's say in your portfolio as a student, that's really important. That's what I look for in portfolios is, I can teach people new tools, I can get them training on software, those types of things, but if they can't think critically about the problems they're trying to solve and really hone in on those things, that's a hard challenge for that designer, right? So I would say that's probably the one thing I look for most, is that ability to think creatively and consistently and broadly.
Could you speak quickly to the ability of pen on paper?
Oh, so the ability of pen on paper, I think, is, again, critical to be able to visualize your ideas. I don't care if it's digital on a tablet or pen on paper or on a whiteboard. As a designer, you have to be able to communicate your ideas with good acuity in the moment, or prepare to do that with a variety of tools. But the hand skill, one, it's a lot of fun. Two, it is, again, part of that superpower that helps communicate ideas within the organization. I don't know how many times I've gotten up to a whiteboard when people are talking in the background and I just start drawing like, you mean like this? And they're like, yes. Thank you for taking these words and giving it some life so now we can actually have a good conversation and make some decisions. So hand skills, or even just hand model making. However you want to bring your ideas to life and communicate those to your partners or the business or yourself even, that will not go away from my point of view. We actually get quite a bit of questions around, with all this VR technology, is the clay modeling, which is, I would say a foundational creative tool within the transportation design space, is clay modeling going to go away? Can't we just remove that piece of the development phase? It takes a long time, and then you basically, destroy that thing once you're done with it, so to speak. No, because everyone sees ideas differently. And there's no question that you all see these vehicles in front of us the same way, in the physical space, with the scale of the world around it, everything else. So analog tools, to take your question a little bit further, are going to continue, at least at Polaris, be a foundational block of how we communicate design intent. So, question?
You talked about inspiring your team. How do you inspire the other business groups that you work with to be energized about what you're working on?
So the question is, we inspire our design team, but how do we energize our business partners to be interested in the work that we're doing? Correct? Yep. A couple of things. One is that business acumen. How do we translate our, I would say, concept and design solutions through the vernacular of the business? Meaning, are we considering the things that it takes to manufacture this efficiently? Are we getting out ahead of some of those design for manufacturing questions that will come up? If you get out ahead of that, it shows that you understand the business really well. So, to put one point of view on it, answer the questions before they ask is one way to go about it. And I'm constantly having my team on every image say, do you know the volume of this? Do you know what your target cost is? And I know it's boring stuff. It's not exciting for designers to think about this, but they got to know. And our partners need to know that they know. So when they're designing that bumper, they know how many operations go into it, how much it has to cost, and how it fulfills the overall sort of price retail of the vehicle, which is then, is that desirable or not to the customer, right? Can they afford it? So bringing some of that business sort of acumen and detail into your design work is one way that we gain a lot of trust with our partners and inspire them to trust us. The other way that we do this is concept vehicles. We spend a lot of time either doing VR concepts or clay core scale concepts that are just new ideas that they're not asking for. And if you blend that with some of the business sort of acumen and questions, it becomes a really great conversation. And a lot of times they're like, this is exciting, but we have other priorities. Let's shelve this thing or whatever it might be. That inspires our business. When they see new ideas that we've thought through with good business feasibility, they get really stoked about that. So, does that answer your question? Okay.
Hey, Michael. So one of your words was outdoors.
Yeah.
Those are the 3 words that I'm looking at the snowmobile and thinking about. So how do issues like climate change affect your business? Maybe it seems an unlikely thing to affect design, but we know it probably does pretty directly.
It's drastically affecting, climate change is affecting our business, and we're doing things both to be proactive about trying to advance how we build our vehicles, from sustainability awareness, looking at PFAS in our componentry, as well as getting into EV. We have an EV Ranger that we've been selling, So from a product standpoint, we're doing some things to try and do the right thing there, right? And that's a big challenge, right? But we're up for it and we're making some good progress. From the external environment of global warming and environmental change, this is a real thing. If you look at Patagonia, they are specifically getting more and more out of their snow portfolio and migrating to new areas such as fly fishing, right? More aquatic sports, because they know there's going to be more water around versus snow. And I think there's these macro trends and we do this at Polaris. The design team is leading macro trend analysis for the organization to say, what are these external factors in 15, 20 years that we need to position our vehicles for so they operate accordingly, but take that into account, right? So we're looking at some new spaces that are controversial in some ways, but are driven out of that sort of sustainable macro trend challenge that we have. Does that answer your question? Okay.
What advice could you give new designers to have better working relationships with engineers, manufacturing, mechanical, electrical, to kind of fill that gap?
Sure. So the question is, what advice would I give for new designers to have a better relationship with their partners of engineering, whether it be mechanical, digital engineers, whatever it might be? Go sit next to them. I think Hans is here somewhere. He'll recall that at Trek, we were working on a road bike under a tight timeline, and the only way we were going to get that done is if the engineer came and sat right next to us. Prior to that, we were kind of in our own little sort of functional groups, and we didn't probably talk as much as we should. But if you're sitting right next to your person, you can have that conversation, and they can look over and see what you care about, and you can look over and see what they care about and what they're working on, and you can just build that relationship, and you get empathy for what is important to them. I tell that to my team at Polaris. If you are working on taking your sketch or VR model down into the clay studio, take your computer, go down to the clay studio, live down there so the clay modeler has access to you all the time and you can direct them accordingly. Go to our R&D facility, sit next to your engineer, and design that bumper. I think, again, the more you understand kind of your business partner needs and what is important to them, it'll make you a better designer, right? I'd say that's probably the biggest advice.
I have a follow-up question on that. Is this working? Okay. So, and this is just kind of a point of view question that I'm asking you. So with the different, different segments within Polaris, how do you feel, what is the best structure for teams? Is it to have, teams of researchers, designers, engineers focused on a particular category, and that's the category focus on? Or is it, designers and engineers who work across categories and cross-pollinate? Because I know a lot of companies struggle with that decision, and I've seen the pendulum swing even within corporations where we're going to have, centers of excellence. No, we're going to have a hub-and-spoke model. And so, just curious.
You're asking the same question we ask a lot, right? And in fact, we had this conversation Thursday of this week at Polaris. Historically at Polaris, we've been a functional design group, and we have our partners in the R&D space, and we would, per project say, here's a designer, you're going to be focused on this. And that's great because it gives designers a lot of opportunity to try different things, get exposed to different parts of the business. But what the counter to that is now you have a new designer every time on a project that really requires a lot of historical know-how and muscle memory about what is important about this business. How this ATV is made versus how this motorcycle is made are two completely different worlds. Fit and finish on the motorcycle and the materials used versus how these plastic parts go together on an ATV, completely different. So I think that's a question that every organization has to probably beta test in a couple of ways to see what the right mix is. And it might not be one or the other. It might be, hey, in this area, we are going to do a hub and spoke model, but for this area, like Indian motorcycles, we're going to have a dedicated team. And I think a good example of that is, color and graphics in motorcycles is very different than our off-road business. You're talking premium paints, premium graphics, premium finishes that require a lot of time and dedication and investment to get right, and also understand the marketplace in, I would say very strong fidelity to have something that's really impactful. That's where I would have a team that's very focused on that and dedicated to really owning and becoming a subject matter expert in that space. Where in other areas, maybe it is okay to ebb and flow. At Polaris, we actually have a current model of new designers in the organization. They are that hub and spoke. But as you progress in your career and you find areas that you're really excited about, maybe you become that subject matter expert in snowmobiles, for example, right? So there's no real good answer other than you need to define that for your own organization.
Curious, being 8 to 9 billion a year in sales, how many designers do you have in-house that you can say?
Sure, yeah, so we currently have roughly 45 designers. Nope, I'll take that back. 52, including our UX UI team. So, and that's not just designers, that is the whole creative function. So that includes CMFG designers, industrial designers, ergonomicists, paint color management, clay sculpting fabrication, digital sculpting, so using tools like Blender and Gravity Sketch. Studio engineering is another function within our team. Which is something that we should talk about as a creative team, how important studio engineering is to the designer. And then obviously some management and operation side of things. So a team of 52 for that size is pretty efficient. Okay, I think we have a schedule to maintain here. So again, thank you for this privilege to speak to you guys. I'll be around all day. I'd love to talk to you more about some of these questions. And enjoy. This is a really sweet event, and thank you again, UW-Stout, for putting this on. So thank you.
All right, everyone. Thank you, Michael, for that wonderful presentation and that awesome Q&A. So this morning we're going to have a vendor walkthrough and showcase. We'll have coffee, all that good stuff. So feel free to walk around. Check all the vendors, talk to people as we're going through. At around 10:50, for those of you who are planning to participate in the portfolio review, you're going to head over to the back, around the corner to where it looks like a big cafeteria, because that's where we're having the portfolio review. If you have any questions about that, please feel free to come bother me, bother Seth, bother Beth over there, and we can direct you. So thank you and have a good time. Bye.